Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Math with Marcus. This question comes from Course 2, the 7th grade book from CPM, and it's about coordinate graphing. It's Chapter 2, Problem 105. It says, draw a coordinate grid. Mark both the x and y, make both the x and y axis go from -10 to 10, then plot the following points. Label each point with its letter. So here's my graph. It goes to +10, -10, and +10, -10 in both directions. This is the y-axis, that's the x, and it wants us to point these, plot these points here, and it wants to label them with A, B, C, D. Now, I'm not that great with plotting decimals and fractions on the coordinate grid, and I don't think they're telling you to be super specific, but we're going to get as close to we can and make it really, as good as we can get as an estimate. So, for this point, A is at -2 and 2/10, and the y-coordinate is 4 and 64/100. So I know that A is a little bit further past -2, and then up a little bit less than 5 on the y-axis. So here, -2 is right here, and -2 and 2/10 is less than 2 1/4. So I'm going to go, here's where 2 1/2 would be, -2 1/2. Here's where 2 1/4 would be. So just right there looks perfect. And then we're going to go up to a little bit more than 4 1/2. So 1, 2, 3, 4 1/2 would be here. So 4 and 6. So 4 and 64. 4 and 64/100 looks to be about right there. That looks good to me. So we'll call that A. We'll call that point A. So B is at 8 and 2/10, so that's right about 8 1/4, a little bit less, so 8 and a little bit, and this is a little bit more than 7 1/2. So 8 on the x-axis, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a little bit, and then we're going to go up to a little bit more than 7 1/2. So there's 5, 6, 7 1/2, so a little bit more than that right there, and we'll make point B. Now we've got C is -3 and 4/7. So the question is that more than 1/2 or less? Well, 4/8 would be 1/2. So if we have 4 out of 7, that's more than half, right? 3.5 out of 7 would be half. So this is a little more than 3 1/2, and that's a little bit less than 9 1/2. So -3, 1, 2, 3 1/2 is right about here. And it's a little bit more, and then we need to go to -9, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, -9 1/2 would be there, and we want 3/10, so right about there. And that is C, and that's point C. Now what about D? So D is at 62/100, so a little more than 1/2. And then the y-coordinate is just a little tiny bit more than -5. So we got, this is 1/2, so that would be 3/4, which is not that, so it's somewhere right about there. And then down to -5, and just a little bit. Right there looks good. Right there looks good to me. Yikes, what is going on? There we go. And that's point D. All right, so I hope you got kind of how my process went for estimating what those numbers were close to. Right, this is a little more than 1/2. This was a little bit more than -5. This was a little bit more than -9, but not -9 1/2. All right, so that's how that went. All right, thanks guys for tuning in.